Welcome, everyone, to this another Sunday night edition of the Sounding Off podcast with my usual list of idiots. Where's that other idiot? Oh, there he
No,
is.
tonight we're dummies.
Oh, we're dummies tonight. Yeah. The
Mhm.
idiots have become dummies. This is our, what is this, debut of Russia for Dummies. Because there's a lot of us dummies out there, according to the comments from our recent videos and lives. So, yeah. Gentlemen, welcome. What's going
Good
on?
evening.
Good evening.
Tell me something good.
Well,
Good.
in support of you getting crap from people in your comments, I have decided part of our Russian for Dummies series is a Russian word of the night or day or whatever we want to call it, of a Russian word, and we will get the blind man to try to see if he can tell us what this word is.
The blind weatherman.
He reminds me of my flight over with my dog. Have I told you that story?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
No.
Oh, tell him.
So, the question is how do you get a 40-kilo dog to Russia when you can't put them in the belly of the plane because it's a 12-hour flight?
Yeah.
Maximum time in the belly of the plane is 8 hours. So we were flying from mid-America, Colorado, to New York, and then Aeroflot from New York to Moscow, and then Moscow to Simferopol. And I thought, well, my dog's registered as a service animal in the United States, but in Russia, a service animal is only for the blind or the deaf. You have to be legally blind or legally deaf. So it's like, so what do we do here? He's got a vest. He's certified as a diabetes sensing dog.
Right.
So we've got the vest, we've got the patches, we've got the cards and the tags. So I thought, well, I guess I just got blind. And United States getting to New York wasn't an issue, but we got to Aeroflot and I had to be legally blind. So I put on a pair of dark sunglasses like you're wearing, Daniel.
Yep.
And Aeroflot said, okay, well, he's obviously blind. We'll let him on with the dog. They put us in the front row. We were in business class anyway, but they put us in the front row, took everybody else out of that row, the center row, 6 seats across, and put the dog there. And he was allowed to lay on the floor, sit on the seats. Those stewardesses and Westerners, you often get crap for saying stewardesses. They're flight attendants. Aeroflot, they're stewardesses. Pretty little sexy stewardesses in their, short dresses and things. And they were like, oh, Mr. McLizzy, can we take a picture with your dog? Sure. Mr. McLizzy, if you have to go to the bathroom, you let us know. We will take you. My wife's like, no. So that's how we got.
He can go on his own.
Yeah.
Or I can take it.
That's how we got here. I was blind.
Wow.
So anyway,
go ahead.
Russian word of the day, and we're going to see if anyone in the chat recognizes this, because we keep saying if you learn the Cyrillic alphabet, you will notice a lot of words that you know. So in the chat, if you know what this says, just jot it down there and let us know.
Yep. That's correct.
Edelwolf.
Got it. Good job.
Yep. You see this all the time.
Yep.
I see a lot too, signs, at least in Moscow. Like they renovated a building near me, and in the window, there's retail for rent. So you'll see arenda,
Mhm.
rent in Russian, and then underneath it says retail store in English.
Yeah.
You get that a lot.
So those of you who are not in Eddie's chat, this says cable patch cord.
No, in alive. Yes, patch code.
So kabel patch cord.
Pretty simple.
And what's kabel?
So we will have a new one of these every time we do a Russian for Dummies stream.
I like that.
So I was watching your live, I believe it was yesterday, with Alexandra, or what's her name from the
Anastasia?
internet? Anastasia. And you guys were
Anastasia.
talking. Anastasia.
Anastasia in Russian, yeah.
And you guys, I think when you were finished interviewing her, the three of you were talking about how you started learning Russian, or so. I'll give you guys a quick story about myself. My wife is Russian. We met in New York, upstate New York. So I read an article. It's interesting. I read an article when you meet someone, and if someone that speaks a different language, but you communicate whatever language you communicate with in the beginning of that relationship is the language you're most likely going to continue with. Now, I met my wife in upstate New York. Her English is better than mine. So we spoke English. And then we lived there for 11 years together, right? So we spoke our first 11 years of our relationship, we spoke English.
Yep.
And then people will say, well, your wife is Russian. Why doesn't she teach you? Well, okay. Two things. If my wife was Russian and she didn't speak English, yeah, I would be fluent in Russian in 1 year. But she speaks English, and we were living in America. So I tell people, we leave the house at 7 o'clock in the morning. We're home at 7 o'clock at night from work. Do you really think she wants to sit down and teach me Russian? We have enough time to make dinner and relax and just, talk about our day, or we owned a house. Actually, the house owned us. So we have to do stuff around the house or do lawn, whatever. So a wife teaching their husband their language, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's like a mother or a father trying to teach their children. Now, I teach English, and I have many parents who speak very well in English. And I say to them, why are you paying me when you can teach them, right? You can teach them English. They go, Daniel, do you have children? I say, yes. Well, then they'll say, well, you understand. They don't want to learn English from me. I have a hard time just doing homework with them, trying to tutor them or teach them something. That's if the child is in the school system. If your children are homeschooled from zero, that's a different story. If they're raised in a home strictly homeschooled from the beginning, that's a different story. But when your children go to kindergarten, and then they're in school, they're learning from a teacher, they're learning from someone else. It's difficult as a parent to try to teach your child a language, or maybe even an instrument. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my impression. 10 years of teaching, this is the same answer I get from all my parents, that they don't want to learn from me. Guys, what do you think about that?
Well, this is what I said yesterday, is there's actually a cultural thing where parents are not supposed to teach their children or their spouse. So, my wife occasionally gives me a word. She speaks better English than me too. She's got a PhD in teaching English. So she corrects my English all the time. But, her thing with me is, well, it's easier for me to speak English than try to teach you Russian. And it came out eventually that, she isn't allowed to teach her husband Russian or her daughter Russian. No, our daughter spoke Russian because she grew up with it.
Right.
But, it's a cultural thing, which is something I was going to bring up while you're with us, Daniel, since you are a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think this is something that Westerners can bring to Russians and maybe change their attitude a little about it. My wife came back from Sochi, arrived this morning on the train, and she was with a mother and a grandmother, a 5-year-old girl, and a 6-month-old son in the same train car. And they were from Vladivostok. But this little girl, the 5-year-old, the mother and the grandmother were constantly shushing her and telling her to be quiet. You're not capable of doing this. Don't do that. And my wife started, the teacher comes out. It's, when you're a professional, it always comes out. But she started playing a word game with the little girl. She noticed the little girl couldn't pronounce Russian words properly. So the girl would say something. She'd say, okay, let's play this game. And I'm going to have you say a word to me. And then whatever the word ends with, then I have to say a word that starts with that. Mm-hmm. So it was like she couldn't say yabloko. And my wife said, well, it's pronounced this way. And she said it slowly for her, enunciated properly so the little girl could hear it. And she repeated it. And then she came up with a word. And the mother says, don't play that game with my daughter. She isn't smart enough to do that.
Wow.
And, I know my wife grew up with this. So my wife and I were talking about this tonight, and she said, well, this is a common thing. Now it was getting into the evening, and my wife was on the top bunk. The little girl was on the top bunk. So they weren't allowed to play the word game. So my wife said, well, what's your favorite fairy tale? It's bedtime. Either I'll tell you the fairy tale or you tell me. And again, the mother's like, she's only 5. She isn't bright enough to tell you a fairy tale. But my wife talked to her anyway. It was the 3 little wolves, or the 3 little pigs in Russian. And in Russian, they have names. It isn't, the first pig, second pig, and third pig. And the girl was mispronouncing one of the names, and my wife corrected her. But again, the mother said, you need to quit doing that with her. She isn't capable of doing that. And she's making too much noise for the baby. Now, my wife said the baby was screaming the whole time, but Mama and Babushka were spending all of their attention on the little boy. And again, it's a cultural thing. Little boys are more important than little girls. The little girl got yanked around. She got, pushed and, just not treated very well compared to the boy. And so what are your thoughts? I mean, my wife views the fact that, the little girl, my wife asked her, what do you like to do as a hobby? And the little girl said, I like to paint. I want to be a painter when I grow up. Mm-hmm. My wife says, well, what do you like to paint? And she says, well, I do well with trees and grass and things like that, but I can't paint people. My wife said, well, keep trying and you will get good at it.
Mm-hmm.
She says, no, I'm not capable.
Mm.
My wife said, oh, yes, you are. And she's, no, I'm stupid.
Oh,
So she's repeating what the mother tells her all the time and what Babushka tells her all the time.
So a
yeah.
lot of
And
projection, it seems,
yeah,
from the mother.
yeah. So my wife kept telling her, no, I believe in you. Keep trying and you will get better and you will get better. She says, no, I'm not capable. I'm stupid. So my wife views this as a Western thing, this encouragement. And what are your thoughts, Daniel, as a
Um,
teacher?
well, I've learned a lot from my children growing up being bilingual. They speak two languages, and I watch the process, so it actually helps me to be a better tutor because most of my students are school children. But no, I mean, I always, as a parent, I always encourage my children, to be creative, and I tell them, you can do what you want, anything you want to do in your life. I say, you know, always be positive, find your passion, work hard. I never say anything like negative, like what this woman was doing. That's horrible. Now, this was a Russian woman, right? With
Oh,
Russian
yeah.
mom and a grandmother. Yeah, this was in
Yes.
Russia, right?
Yeah. All in Russian.
Yeah. So, your question to me is what? Your wife thinks that that's
She
normal
says,
in
she
Russia?
says it's, she says it's relatively normal in Russia because the girls are always looked at as a lower class than the boys as children. Now, I
Oh,
say, I told Eddie earlier, I don't necessarily agree with this 100%, but I know a good amount of girls who are not treated great by their parents or aren't held at the level of boys.
yeah. I've maybe like in Asian countries or maybe like in China, like I've heard, but in Russia, I never really came across that, to be honest. And I have a son, I have a daughter, and I treat them, I don't want to say equally because like with a son, you treat a son differently than a girl, right? My son is almost 14. He can go anywhere in Russia. He travels by train through the city, blah, blah, blah. But my daughter's going to be 11. I treat her differently. Even when she's 13 or 14, I'm not going to let her, probably, I might not let her be as free as my son only because she's a girl, and I'm a father and I'm protecting her, like this is, with boys. But in Russia, I never really came across that where, boys are treated that way and girls aren't. It's interesting that you
Yeah.
said that because I don't know.
I see it a good amount here in Crimea. So maybe it's just various regions. Odious Wright is saying that his experience was his parents spending a lot of money and time to develop children. And I see that too. But on the other hand, I see that the boys are given a little more respect and maybe a little more responsibility. Now I'm okay with the boys having a little more responsibility. They need to look out for their little sisters. But
Well, listen, all children need a mother and a father. End of story. A child needs both parents. A mother has her role and a father has his role, right? Children need both parents.
yeah,
Unfortunately, parents divorce. My parents divorced when I was 7. I only saw my dad on the weekends. It wasn't enough. To be honest, it wasn't enough. But
Mhm.
I think, as a parent, it's our responsibility to raise our children in a loving environment, in a stable environment. Because I'll tell you something right now, what I've learned. It's it's very, very important to grow up in a stable, emotionally stable environment, because as a person, if you're emotionally stable, you can tackle anything that happens in your life. Financially, okay, money makes life easier, but it doesn't bring happiness. So as a parent, you have to treat both daughter and son with respect. I don't baby my children. I talk to them about all the uncomfortable topics. I educate them about life, about the real world, my daughter and my son. You know,
But you're a Westerner married to a Russian woman who lived in the West. So does that make a difference? Random Iserg says it's about the surnames. The boy will continue the family name while the girl won't.
but what does that have to do about respect and raising them and treating them, you know, we're not living, 300-400 years ago.
So if this is a prevalent attitude in Russians or even in just regions, is it something Westerners can bring to this country when they immigrate?
Well,
Showing a little more respect.
I would add that this is very common. This boys over girls was very common in the Mexican culture, and probably a lot of different cultures in Latin America for many, many different reasons. In the church, in the Catholic Church, men become priests, women become nuns. In some other denominations, men can preach and speak, and the women are made to be silent, or women have to wear cover in some religions. So there's always been this distinction between, male and female. But going back to the Mexican culture, so in my generation, this was still a thing. And I grew up in South Texas, so there's still a lot of that Mexican culture there. But now my kids' generation, my kids were born in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's changed. And now you see Americans of Mexican heritage at my age, younger generations teaching their children, but there's just nothing but praise, and there's nothing but positivity and pushing them to do their best. So it is, I guess, like a uniquely, I won't say American thing, but it is definitely prevalent in America. So your question is, will they bring this to Russia? I think so. But someone in the comments mentioned that they see a lot of Russian parents investing in their children, whether it's like in sports, in music, maybe in science education, things like that. I see that too. And that's great because they're interested in the development of their children. So it could be a generational thing. Maybe this newer generation of Russian parents is going to be different. And I also think that the education level of the parent probably has something to do with that as well.
I think I just learned something about myself, because as you guys are talking about this, yes, of course, there are countries that are like this when it comes to boys and girls. But my way of thinking as a parent, I don't know. I don't see it. Like, I don't look for it. I expect, well, we're all parents and we do the best we can with raising our children. But I don't know. I guess I'm just blind to it because that's not how I look at my children, And people are like, oh, you can't love you. When parents say, oh, I love you guys the same, I love you both the same. Well, I truly love my children. It doesn't matter that one's a boy and one's a girl. The only thing with my son is, of course, he's older and he's a boy. So I'm a little more comfortable with letting him travel around Moscow, and he goes to the, he takes my daughter to the suburbs, because he's 6 foot. He's 13, almost 14, but he's 6 foot tall and he's muscular. So when my daughter's 13 or 14, I'm still going to be like, that's only because I know what's going on in this world when it comes to certain things. And
you know your kids. You know your
and
kids
I know
best.
my kids, right? But it's funny that you guys are talking about this now. It's absolutely right. There are cultures that look at that, their different way when it comes to a son and a daughter. But I don't at all. And maybe that just makes me blind to that situation. Because when Kevin asked me that, I'm thinking I'm living here 13 years and I've never even seen it. But maybe I just don't want to see it. I don't know.
I don't know. It's not something I think of on a regular basis. I do know that when our daughter was born, my wife's family told her to put her up for adoption. Get rid of her. You don't want a girl.
What?
No, that was also, back in the early 2000s, just post-Soviet, but, this was the attitude then.
Well, listen.
Now, my wife is stubborn.
But listen,
But she also grew up with the "you're not capable, you're stupid. I'm not going to tell you I love you unless you prove that you deserve love." So these are the sorts of things that she experienced growing up, as did many of her friends.
Right. Well, you're all right. A father is a biological parent. A dad is a constant loving figure in their children's life, right? Anyone can be a father. Anyone can have a child. Any father can make a baby. But it's a dad is who is in their life no matter what. That's a constant, loving, nurturing person that's raising that child. So, unfortunately, we have fathers in this world and we have dads in this world. And so, becoming a parent, it's not just, okay, society tells me, I have to marry, then I have to buy a house with a white picket fence, and then I can have a child, and then, this is what I'm supposed to do. No, unfortunately, not everyone is built to be a parent. And many people are having children. Many people are having children, and they're just not ready. They're just not ready, or they're not mature enough, or they're not educated enough, or they're not emotionally stable enough. That's what I'm saying. Being emotionally stable.
So, Mr. Wonderful, I want to address this. He says, yeah, low-educated parents can, in many cases, be bad parents. I would disagree. That's where we should draw the line. I know a lot of low-educated parents. I have one who works for me as my regular handyman. Oh, Daniel disappeared. But he's not educated. He's a damn good father, though. He spoils his daughter a bit too much, I would say. But in the case of my wife, her mother is very educated, Russian teacher, director of school when she was growing up, and her father was a scientist. So, I
think that's an overgeneralization because, my parents, uneducated. My father dropped out of school when he was in the 3rd grade. My mother in the 5th grade. Got married when my mother was 16, my father was 19. This was in 1938. Yeah. I think they did a fantastic job. So I think it's an overgeneralization. But I did say that earlier, so yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. But as far as like maybe parenting skills, but I was raised in a very loving home. Uh, yeah, very loving home, and yeah, we'll just leave it
Well,
at that.
this is the problem with overgeneralizing. I mean,
Sure.
I had to scold John Parvick a little bit ago because he was talking about how all Catholics were, pedophiles, and
No,
I
you
know
can't.
at least he was saying 95% of them, but I know that 33% of them in this room aren't.
Yeah, I was about to
Yeah,
say.
you can't. You
Well,
can't.
Actually, I'll
label.
say 50% because I'll actually take that label because I was raised Catholic too. I'm Italian,
Yep.
so
I was raised Catholic too. Yeah.
Oh, me
Yeah.
too. Roman Catholic.
well, there you go. So 100% of the people in the room aren't pedophiles. So.
You can't label groups of people. It's not right. It's not. It's horrible. You have a bad group. You have bad people in every culture and religion. All that. So one bad apple doesn't mean everyone's a bad apple. You know what I'm saying? But again, so now
All about which says he too was raised Catholic and turned out mostly all right. Hey, I switched sides. What can I say?
well, yeah, my wife and children are Russian Orthodox, and I'm getting ready to go through the what do you call it? I'm going to convert.
Yeah. Okay. So, here's a classic example. I hear this a lot out of particularly Westerners who are in the Orthodox Church in Russia. I hear, I disagree with one of our mutual friends quite often when he says in a stream that the man is head of the household, and if he says you will do this, she is supposed to do it. And, again, it's a misgeneralization of what is said in the Bible. The man is the head of the household, but what does Jesus say you're supposed to do? Love your wife as yourself. Love your neighbor. So,
Yeah, I think every family, it's their family. They have to live the way they want to live, and that's that's it for me. That's like I'm not the type of person to tell somebody what they should do or what they shouldn't do. And I don't judge anyone because I'm not perfect. I have no right to judge any man. What works in my family with my wife and I now children might work for many other people. It might not, but what you do at home, it's your business. How you live your life. It's your business. I don't think anyone should be telling you. That's just my opinion,
So somebody here, now I lost it. I should have put a star on it.
But question was this live is about Russian for Dummies.
Yeah.
Well,
And we kind of went off track.
So Igor wants to know who's the author. Author of what, Igor? Can you clarify?
No, of Russia for Dummies.
Yeah.
You're talking to the three dummies.
So
Last week we were idiots. We graduated.
So I actually learned a lot of Russian with my students.
Yeah, but it's Russia for Dummies, not Russian for Dummies.
Oh, is that what? Oh, it's Russia for Dummies, not Russian.
Russia
not the
for
language.
Dummies. Yeah, because we're talking about the
so we didn't go off
topic.
course then.
Yeah.
No,
we didn't go off course then. I thought we were discussing the Russian language. Sorry, guys. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, товарищ.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah,
Well-
ne idiot.
Well, you guys mentioned
what's a dummy in Russian?
Idiot.
Idiot. Okay.
you guys mentioned, if Westerners move here, are they going to bring that type of raising, their children and that to Russia? Again, I've lived in 3 different countries, well, 4 in America too, but I've lived in 4 countries, 3 new countries, and I never tried to change that culture or their way of life or anything. How we raised our children, how we lived our life, we did it within our family. So if other people see that, like if Westerners come to Russia and then they see how fathers are with their children, because I'll tell you a story, and this is Russia for Dummies. We were in the park about, let's see, my son is almost 14, so my son was 7, 8 years old. I was with my son and my daughter. We were at the playground in a park in Russia, in Moscow, and my son was on the swing. Some girls came over and around his age, and he gave them the swing. And I was talking with a couple of Russian dads, and they said, wow, they said that's really not something, I guess, they see too often with Russian boys. Maybe giving something to the girl or giving the swing or something like that. But that's just how I raised my children, to respect people, to treat people the way they wanted to be treated. But I always tell my son, you take care of girls. You protect the girls at your school. If anyone's getting bullied, you stand up for them. And I tell my daughter too, because she's tall. And my daughter's muscular. She's a sports player. I said, if any of your friends are getting bullied, you have to protect them. But this is how I raise my children. And I'll tell you another story, which I was really impressed. My daughter was in camp in Ramenskaya, Moscow Oblast, for 3 weeks. They were on the 3rd floor. The coach on the 5th floor of the boys' wrestling or boxing or whatever they were doing, football team, my daughter told me that coach tells those boys to protect the girls that are in the hotel. Always protect when you're at camp or you're at tournaments, to always protect the girls. And that's how I raised my son. That's how I raised my children. So, but the Russian fathers were very impressed. For me, that's a normal thing. The girls come over, they ask for the swing, my son gives it to them. But for the Russian fathers, they're like, wow, Russian boys wouldn't do that.
Now, see, my experience here is the opposite. Is boys do that? My wife has a little girl who has classes with her, and her older brother, like 7, 8 years older than her, he walks her here so that she doesn't get hurt walking along the street, sits and waits for her, walks her back home afterwards. They are on the bus, somebody older than them comes, they get up, they give their seat. Now, was it last night I played that video, or a few nights ago? No, actually it was in my Telegram channel, about the American in one of the Russia-friendly countries, calling a pregnant woman a fat pig, and refused to get up when she requested to be able to sit down. And
wow.
Yeah. I think that was last night, wasn't it, Eddie?
I remember it. I think it was last night or the night before.
Yeah.
I can't sit if a woman's standing.
Yeah,
I was raised to be chivalrous. So I'll give you an example. And this is how I was raised. Hanging out with my dad, going with his friends, going to their ranches. So Mexican cowboys, we'll put it that way. So if a man is wearing a hat and he's being introduced to a lady, he removes his hat and says, hello, whatever that is, and then he put it back on. If you're going to shake a man's hand, you stand up. If you're sitting down, you stand up, shake a man's hand. You don't do it from a sitting point. So these are just common, manners that I learned that I've come to find that there's a lot of similarities with that here in Russia, because chivalry is alive and well here. And you're allowed, not even allowed, I say allowed, that's my American side coming out. You're expected to be a man. You're expected to be chivalrous. I mean, that's just the way it is. And to be anything other than that.
You're expected when you meet another man to shake his hand.
Absolutely. And if it's wintertime and you're wearing gloves,
take
your glove off, because it's skin to skin.
Of course.
My workers, they're working, they got gloves on. I go out there, they take their glove off, shake your hand.
Absolutely. Open doors for women. Absolutely. If I'm going into say magazine, Pitriochka, and I'm meeting a lady coming in, I stop, lady goes first, and then I go. That's just normal. Everybody does that.
My son's 13. I don't have to tell him in the metro. If I'm taking him somewhere or going somewhere, he gets up and he gives the seat right away to a woman. But and this is what is learned at home. Kids go to school and they learn, but home is the first place where children have to learn. And,
that's where you learn it.
And how to grow, But one thing, though, I noticed in Russia, which many Westerners wouldn't like when they come here, is when you hold the door open for someone. It's like a 50-50 chance you're going to get a thank you in Moscow. I don't know how it is in Crimea. I don't know what your experience is, Eddie, but I'm always holding the door open.
If it's a babushka or an older, say 40 plus, 30 plus, I get spasiba.
Yeah.
Almost all the time. If it's a younger female, maybe
50,
maybe 50. Not.
50-50, right. And but I don't always get a thank you, which is fine, but that might bother some Westerners that come here, because I guess they would expect that in America. You hold the door open for someone, you expect to hear a thank you. Yeah, but you're not always do
a good deed and go on, just do it.
Yeah. Listen, I don't do things because I'm expecting something back.
Yeah. No. But many Americans may come in here and do that and say, like, wow, they weren't even, they didn't even appreciate what I did. It's like, no, dude, just do it and go on. That's what you're expected to do.
I don't need a great job or a pat on the back. No, I'm only talking about opening the door.
Do it. Yeah.
For a stranger.
Just do it and go on.
You won't always get a thank you. I'm trying to think what else.
That's a very good topic for Russia for Dummies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
listen,
just to clarify some language things, this is the one Igor was giving us dummies. This was the first one, Blue Pits. Which I wouldn't have thought of that one. When he went to Durachuk, I was thinking of Durak.
Durak. I love that game. You play that? You play that card game, Durak?
I don't. It makes no sense to me.
Oh, I love Durak. I love cards. I love playing cards. That's a great game.
Yeah, Russia for Dummy. Rossiya Chynakov.
Chynakov.
And that'll
makes me think of a cup of tea, but
I tell you one thing. Almost 100% of the times when I go visit a friend or visit somebody new, I have tapochki. I have slippers waiting for me at the door. They'll always have pastries or something and tea or coffee. ready to
And
go.
And there's probably some fruit on the table.
Yeah, of course. Fruit, ready to go. Always. Like, there's no, as soon as I come in, you want tea, you want coffee. They give me the tea and coffee, and then that's when the dishes come out of fruits and pastries and cookies or whatever.
Right.
Love it. I love it. I always feel welcomed.
And and also when you go to visit someone, if you've been invited, you always take a gift.
Yes.
And it could be something simple, just a pie or something baked or something.
Or if they have children, I always bring something, a little Hot Wheels car, depending on how old they are,
right?
a little wooden gift, something. If you're going to visit friends or whatever, you bring something obviously to eat, like you said, cake or something. But if they have children, you can bring a little something for the children too. Nothing extravagant, just a little something for them.
And then the opposite is if you're the host, when your guests leave, you try to give them something as well, so they leave with something.
Yeah, it depends on how they act. They might get a swift kick in the ass.
Yeah, it depends.
So Miga's got a good one here for dummies.
Yes, very good.
Since we were talking about shaking hands, don't shake hands over the threshold. You have to at least put your foot over the threshold before you shake someone's hand.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Hugging, kissing.
Foot? I never heard that. I just avoid the threshold and just either invite or go out and then shake.
Yeah. You're right. They
like
have
when,
to come
when
in.
my workers come to work in the morning, they stop by the house, they open the door, they say good morning, but they always put one foot through the door before they'll shake hands. They don't come in, so, but if you're going to shake, I mean, a Westerner will do it in a minute. But
no, there's no greetings. It's a greeting, a hug, a kiss, hello, goodbye, or shaking hands. You have to be in the house together or out of the house together.
Right.
Or a foot over the threshold.
No, I don't do the foot on the threshold.
I don't know. I don't do the foot over the threshold.
Well, it is allowed to do the foot over the threshold.
Yeah, you're allowed. Thank you. Yeah.
Good to know, man. We all have our limits.
And I don't know if many people know, but saying hello to strangers is not a big thing in Russian culture. If they don't know you, like I do it anyway, but I'm an American, I get away with it. Sometimes they look at me like I have two heads, but very rarely, but most times I get a, hello back or, but that's a big thing too. Not to just, you're walking past someone just to say good afternoon.
Yeah, many mornings I'm out walking and you see a Diedushka walking and, I may say, good morning or give a head nod. Sometimes I get it back. Sometimes I don't,
Yeah. The older generation. Yeah. It's you'll get,
it's more common.
Yeah.
So Miga's just, whipping the dummy stuff out there all over. Don't whistle in the house.
Cannot whistle in the house.
I used to whistle all the time growing up, no matter where I was. And my wife broke me of that pretty quickly.
Not in Russia.
Don't smile at strangers.
Yes, because they don't know
laugh when you're in a government office doing something serious.
And don't smile in pictures. Big thing in Russia.
No, you have to smile in a picture.
I won't say it.
Go ahead.
Eddie, smile properly.
I did.
Daniel and I have the smile down. You have to practice.
I did a recent wedding, right? Recent, and the groom is from Sweden, married a Russian, and so when I'm doing family photos, and I've got the bride and groom, and then the groom's parents, and then I've got the bride's parents.
Oh,
and you can tell
who
the guy from Sweden is because the groom is like,
yep,
and everybody else is.
Oh yeah.
So, it was so funny.
Oh yeah. Yep, I take family photos, the grandma and grandpa or the uncle and stuff like that, and I'm smiling like a jackass, and they're all straight, stone faced in the picture.
Whoa, what does this mean? Don't salute with a kiss to a woman.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that one
Don't
out.
salute with a kiss to, like maybe like this, like kiss like this.
Maybe.
Maybe I don't know.
It all says never kiss and salute. I don't know. To me, that would be.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Don't know.
I'm a dummy. I'm a dummy. I don't know.
That's a big
Don't
one.
take out the trash after the sun goes down. I haven't heard that one before. I do
that
know
all
my
the time.
mother-in-law will just take and dump the garbage bag outside her front door. You know, and then we have the cats tearing it apart, and you know, somebody, it becomes part of their honey-do list, but picking up the trash.
Well, also,
I will tell you, yeah. When I wore a uniform, like in law enforcement, anytime we saw the colors, and we saluted during the national anthem, we saluted, and so whether I'm a veteran or
if you're
not,
in uniform,
if you're in uniform, yeah.
yeah.
But
if you're
if you want it in
clothes,
civilian, you don't have to. You just put your hand over your heart.
yeah.
Right.
You shouldn't salute if you're not in uniform.
Right.
So
But that's a big one. You don't pour your own alcohol. That's huge. That's huge. And when you if you're doing shots, you don't pour a half a shot. You make sure you fill that shot glass to the rim, baby.
But when you pick it up, it should, and you're just shaking your hand, there should be vodka falling down from the glass.
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
full.
Yeah. When you're drinking,
and you know, I'll disagree with don't pour your own alcohol. You don't pour your own alcohol first. I know I'm expected as the man in the house to pour the women's alcohol first or guests' alcohol before I pour my own. And if somebody gets a half a shot, it's the guy at the end of the bottle, which is the guy pouring it.
Yeah. No, but that's right. If you're the host, you pour everyone first, and then you can pour yourself. But if you're doing shots, you're pouring shots, even wine glasses for the ladies. You got to fill that glass, man.
Yeah. So Odious Wright says, we're talking about some old people habits. Youngsters don't really give a damn. I'll disagree. I see, define youngsters. I see 20-somethings that follow the exact same rules, the same principles. We actually have kids who come here for lessons. You won't find them whistling in the house. They won't shake hands over the threshold. They will shake my hand when they come in the house. So I wouldn't necessarily say, you know, maybe Moscow, it's not as much. I don't know.
And Kevin, how is it in Crimea with tipping? Because in Russia, the waiters and waitresses, they get paid. They have a salary. So tipping, I hear a lot of Russians saying tipping, you don't have to tip, you know, because in America, they work on tips. They only get what? They only get minimum wage, I guess, in America.
Even less than minimum wage. Yeah,
right.
Some states.
But in Russia, my wife and I, we always give at least 10%. You know, we always tip at least 10%. But Russians always tell us, you don't have to.
Yeah, same thing here. You know, I was always a 20% tipper, and my wife always scolded me. Waiters, even at 10%, waiters give us darn good service because we tip.
Right.
But it's uncommon. Yeah, very uncommon.
Uncommon.
You know, it's uncommon, but it's actually very convenient because say you're at a restaurant, for those of you in the West, and you're going to pay, you usually don't go to like a checkout area. Okay, you check out at your table, and they'll bring a little card reader, and you tap your card on it, and you pay for it. Then on the receipt, there's a either a barcode or a what do you call that, Kevin? That
QR code.
QR code. There's a QR code to give a tip to the waiter. So all you do is scan the code.
Yeah,
and
right.
you can pay the tip. Easy peasy. Yeah, very convenient.
Well, a lot of Russians I'm with, if the bill is, say we're out, a couple of us, and we're at a restaurant, and the bill is 6,586 rubles, we'll just round it off to 7. Well, they'll just round it off, or they'll just leave the change on the thing. They won't even add extra. They'll just, whatever change comes back, if it's
Just leave it on the
100
table.
or 70 rubles or 180 rubles, they'll just leave it.
Yeah, my wife is kind of like that. She's kind of gotten used to the fact that I'm going to leave more anyway. So she'll usually take a couple 100 rubles more and put it on the table, because she knows I'm going to drop some more on the table anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we're good for 10%, but we will do more if the waiter is really, great, just really helpful, and we'll tip more, but 10% is the average for us.
That is true. 10%.
Says the cat with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
Mr. W, how's it going, brother?
Yeah, I agree. For the most part. Mhm.
Kids and teenagers are monkey see, monkey do.
So here's one. Elias says, don't kiss on the cheek to a woman when you say hello in front of her male companion. I actually have been taught here in Crimea and in Ukraine, you always kiss the woman 3 times, even in front of her male companion, on each cheek. 1, 2, 3. I never remember if it's right cheek or left cheek first. But I'm Catholic. I always cross the cross backwards too. So. Oh, by the way, Elias is from Chile, so hey, welcome.
Wow. Welcome. Long ways away.
Chile.
So
Awesome.
this is another For Dummies thing that I just ran across this weekend. And I'm actually surprised he's not in the chat tonight, but he's probably preparing for his court case in the next couple of days. One of my friends in Kerch, he got here. He has to leave every 3 months. He's from the UK, so his visa is only good for 3 months. And when he came last time, I says, well, you have to go to either immigration or the police, get fingerprinted, get your picture taken, register, and then go to the police, bring them all this documentation. They will stamp it, you'll pay them, and then immigration will give you the little green card. Eddie showed us that the other day. And he says, no, my wife and I got pulled over by a cop the other day when we were driving, and he said something about having to be registered, but he called somebody and came back and says, oh, no, they said you don't have to register because it was on your visa application. And I says, I'm telling you, dude, you got to register, and you got to go get the fingerprints and stuff taken. Well, he is due to go back to the UK on Tuesday because his visa expires. He got pulled over yesterday. He was asked to see his registration, didn't have it.
Oh, boy.
And so the cop hauled him to the police department. And of course, his wife argued, this other cop told us. So they arrested her for not registering him because the house and the property is in her name because she's the citizen. So they both got arrested. 5 hours. They got shuttled from the police department to immigration to the FSB. And now they have a deportation hearing either Monday or Tuesday.
Wow.
So guess who isn't flying out on Tuesday?
Wow.
Or he may be flying out on the Russian Federation's ticket.
And not coming back.
And not coming back. So, this is for the dummies out there who think you can get away with not getting the green card that Eddie showed you. You have to register at an address, even if the hotel does it. You
If you're
have
here
to,
for more than 90 days.
if you're here for more than 90 days. Yeah. So he technically didn't have to get the fingerprints and stuff. But he has to be registered to an address.
Right.
And he's on a private visa, invited by his wife to live in their house. But it is what it is. So now he gets a deportation hearing, and she has to explain why she didn't register him. So she will get a fine too.
Wow.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah. No, you have to register. You have to register. You can't mess around, because about 5 years ago, we moved to Switzerland in between living in Moscow, just for like a year and a half, 2 years. And when we came here for New Year's, my wife's sister's Russian friend brought her husband, who he's from Czech Republic, and he flew out 2 hours after his 2-week visa expired. He had a 2-week visa to come for the New Year's. And he didn't realize when he purchased his flight ticket, it was a couple of hours after his visa expired. Well, it was about 5 years he wasn't able to get anything to come back.
Wow.
Yep.
They wouldn't let they 2 hours or 3 hours after his 2-week visa.
And you know, I hear a lot of people living here on tourist visas. We have a common friend who does this, and he does take his over the border and back in every 6 months. But if you read the law, you're only allowed to stay for 180 days in a year. So may get away with it, may not get caught, but much like my friend over here, just because you don't get caught doesn't mean it isn't going to bite you in the rear in the end.
Right. Right. Well, we moved to Moscow, and 2.5 years later, we went to Switzerland, and I had my temporary residency, but I had to give it up because you have to live 6 months and 1 day in country. That was 10, 11 years ago. I don't know
Still
what
the rule.
Still the rule?
Yeah. 183 days.
Yeah, so I had to give that up. And then we only ended up staying about a year and a half in Switzerland. I came back and I had to go through the process all over again.
Yep. Here's a dummy question. In regard to documents for the temporary residency, when they say police check, is this local, state, or FBI background check? Does it get apostilled through your state's Secretary of State? Who wants to answer that?
I would be happy to answer that. Eric, it depends on where you're coming from. In the UK, they can actually get an electronic background check from the embassy, all apostilled and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know the specifics of it because I'm not British, but my good friend Jay Tulip, who goes through this all the time, very knowledgeable on the subject, says they can do it electronically. In the United States, you have to get an FBI background check. You cannot get a local or state one. It has to be FBI, and it does have to be apostilled through the state's Secretary of State. If you want specifics about who to go to, what you have to watch out for, especially from the United States, because there are issues with the United States. And, I would be happy to give you a consultation on it. I'm sure Eddie would as well. I think Eddie has got this topic down well. But you can see either of us at either of our websites down here, westtorussia.com or Worry Free Russia. Schedule a consultation with us.
I will add just this to Eric. That timing of when you get your FBI check and when you need it here in Russia is important. And like I said, we can sort and sift through all that because each person's situation is going to be different. But yeah, there is a timing issue with that.
Oh yeah, happened to me.
Yeah. And
Happened to me.
I have heard Timur on screen with me tell people that it's okay if it expires. The immigration people understand it. They will take it anyway. They won't in Crimea. It is to the day. And Daniel, you had an issue with it.
They didn't do it for me, and that was 4 years ago in Moscow.
Wow.
I had to redo it. I had to do the fingerprints in Moscow, send it off DHL to a company, and and then they sent it to the State Department to get apostilled. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It happened to me. So
I know how to make that happen. If you're here, how to get the timing right. Eddie does as well. So, set up consultation with one of us. We can walk you through that. Yeah, Eric, we assume you meant in the US, but I just wanted to make sure that we clarified that everybody needs it. So
Edelwolf wants to know what the timing is. I'll tell you, it's 90 days.
90 days.
Now, not 90 days from the day of apostille. That's 90 days from the time the FBI stamped it and did the check.
Or whatever government, yeah.
Or whatever government. But if we're talking about USA, it's that day. So if it spends, if you get FBI check on one day and it takes 3 weeks to get it apostille, that's 3 weeks less from 90 days that you have. So
current time to get it apostilled in the United States is 6 weeks. And that's if it's hand carried to them and hand picked up.
Otherwise, it's 11
the
weeks.
details you're getting into, set up an appointment with one of us and we can talk you through it.
Well, listen, I got mine expedited through my congressman. I wrote to the local congressman of where I was born and raised. I told them my situation. I told them I'm a veteran, and they told me to give them, the whatever number it was that I got from the State Department. I guess they give you, So I got it within 2 days. 2 days.
But you did it pre-COVID. I mean, pre the unmentionable virus. And
and that too.
If you go out to their website, the State Department is still closed for the virus. So they are not expediting anymore.
No, I didn't.
They haven't been. Huh?
No. Listen, because I had my residency for a long time. I did. Oh no, I did it. You're right. I did it for my permanent, right? Not for my citizenship, right? I did it for my permanent.
Yeah, 4 years ago was pre all that crud.
Yeah.
So they aren't expediting still.
Well, if a congressman calls or calls up and you might, it's worth a try. I mean, they did it for me because I was a veteran, and this congressman is a veteran or a military guy.
I know how to bypass all that stuff. I think I've told Eddie how to bypass it as well. So, somebody wants to set up an appointment with one of us, we'd be happy to walk them through that. So here's a question. I think Eddie started this one. I have a 16-year-old girl on the verge of graduating high school. Would it be better for him to start university here or try to get in a university in Russia? Who wants to take that one?
Well, my first question would be, do they speak Russian?
Yeah, I would say even if they don't, there are a couple of universities that will take English-speaking students.
I'm sure there is, yeah.
Yeah, and teach them Russian while they are going through the courses. Yeah. And I know of at least one in Moscow. So it really depends on what the goal is. Russia does offer scholarships for foreign students for various programs, teaching, IT, I don't remember what else. So, again,
I think it's
it requires more time than we can give to it
that
right
we can
here.
give you, absolutely. But I will tell you this, that depending on where you're coming from, it could be much cheaper and really worth the experience for your son. So I think it's something that I wish I, as a parent back then, had that opportunity to kind of explore that with my kids as well.
How do you know it's a son or a daughter?
Because he says him, or it writes him.
Oh, yeah. You're so smart. You're not an idiot, Eddie.
Sometimes,
No. Eddie has graduated the dummy.
It works, yeah.
He graduated the dummy, right? Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question, but all I can say is try to get here as soon as he can, because it's getting really crazy in the West. I wouldn't wait. I would try to come to Russia as fast as you can.
Yeah. So Elias has a question. Which date will release of the list of countries that are losing their values?
I would like to take the.
I was going to let Eddie take that one, since he made the mistake of saying September 1st.
Y'all remember?
I'm going to defend him based on information he got from somebody who got their information from an immigration lawyer who didn't know what he was talking about.
Mr. Carter.
Yeah. So let me just put this here up. Yeah. So I got this question on why did the TRP country list not come out yet? Because I'm an idiot. That's why. Simple answer. So I misunderstood. Right, yeah. So the decree becomes law today, but the finalized list and all the details are still not out yet, and I misunderstood. So I'm eating my words.
Now I am going to defend you on that. You only misunderstood because that's what a particular immigration lawyer told us, and I disagreed with him at the time he said that no, the law goes into effect, but it can take, it could be tomorrow, it could be 3-4 months from now.
According to President Putin, it was he gave them 30 days to come up with it. So, and yeah, it was a case. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say the way things work here is whatever list they come up with, then they have all the rules that have to go along with it, and they will start dealing with it based on those rules until they say, oh, wait a minute, that's not working the way we expected, or that's not beneficial to Russia. And there will be changes to these rules and this list on an ongoing basis for a while. It's just the way it works here. If something's not working, they will change it. It could be in a matter of hours. It could be a matter of days.
So I'm going to address something here. Raymond said, nice reference to Welcome Back, Cotter. If those of a certain age from America will remember that. But here's another reference to the 80s as well. Is I got burned because I heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from another friend that it was supposed to be announced on September 1, but it wasn't.
Yeah. And Alexander wants to point out that September 1st is Knowledge Day in Russia. It used to be the kids would go to school on September 1st, no matter what day of the week it was. I remember the kids here a couple of years ago, it was Saturday. They all went, brought flowers to the teacher, went home. So I don't know if they went today or not.
Not in Moscow.
I didn't see them.
Nope. We start tomorrow.
And
Okay.
tomorrow we will hear, if you open your windows or go outside and you go near a school, you will hear the Russian hymn being played and being sung many times over tomorrow.
Yes. So Eric wants to know, when submitting information to Russia about American addresses, do you use American or Russian format? American, because you're going to have everything you bring with you translated and notarized over here anyway, and they will deal with that.
I don't miss that. I don't miss that process.
Yeah. So Eddie, you have got a pile of questions lined up for tonight. And we're already at an hour and 16 minutes.
Yeah, no, not so much a pile of questions, just some. Let's see, which one do I want to take first? Let's do.
Be careful how you phrase that, because you said which one you want to take first. So whatever you put up, you have to answer.
There you go.
We'll do that. Let's see. What do I have here?
And he graduated to dummy.
I'm a big dummy now. Is there any mention of educational opportunities for young adults in the West in the decree? The West has broken gender roles, turned education into indoctrination, and monopolies make it impossible to start a business. But I don't see why Russia would offer college education for Westerners, since it seems like a lousy return on investment. So
take the very first one up there. Is there anything in the decree?
Yeah. So first of all, no. This decree is not about education. This decree is about migration to Russia on the basis of moral and ideological reasons. So no mention of education. The second is, yeah, we can agree, disagree, but yes. And your third sentence, I don't see why Russia would offer college education for Westerners, since it seems like a lousy return on investment. Well, you'll be happy to know that Russia does issue student visas, including Westerners and people from all over the world study here in Russia. So your, your idea that it's a lousy return on investment, I guess Russia doesn't see it that way. So
I'll add this. If they get what's called a red diploma from a university here, they qualify for, I think it's residency. It could be citizenship, but at least for permanent residency without the tests and things as well. So, return on investment. They want these students to stay here long term. They offer, like I said earlier, they offer scholarships for certain areas, teaching, medical, areas where they have a shortage of people to do these jobs, qualified people.
Yeah. So then we got this. I don't know who's the dummy here. Me or maybe this guy. There's a catch. At the end of the 3-year temporary residency, you will be forced to participate in the special military operation. Do you want me to answer that, or does somebody want to take that?
I would be happy to say the very tactful answer to this.
Please.
Crusader Survivor is an idiot troll. Pridorok. So, if you're of the appropriate age and you become a citizen, you will be obligated to register for the military. If you do not speak fluent Russian, they will not send you to the front line anyway, because you won't be able to take orders. They will put you in something like a behind the lines, mechanic's job, or, shipping stuff out to the front, or, even, way, way, way behind the lines doing, camouflage nets and stuff.
I don't even think they would put them in logistics, because they wouldn't be able to read.
Right. Yeah. So, I know enough Russian to have passed my citizenship test. Daniel does. realistically, neither of us qualify to be sent to the front because neither of us know enough Russian to be able to take orders and react on them immediately.
Yeah, this was a troll. This was a troll, and I just wanted
Yeah.
to show that I do receive them. I do have another question, but I have to go get a resource so that I can answer this question. So I will be right back, guys. Take it.
Ooh, which one is it?
Yeah.
Which one?
Oh.
It is this question.
Okay,
Take
go
it. I'll
get
be
your
right back.
resource. I've been considering moving, saw your website and going to get things together beforehand and then touch base to make sure everything's in order. You three and others have been helpful, been learning the language for almost a year. Yet I'll keep up my studies. Question.
Yeah.
Where is a good place to learn history, general law about museums, etc., partly for citizenship, but for general knowledge? He wants to see the museums and historical places. Got a comment on that, Daniel?
Is he looking to learn history and general law in the language, like to pass the test? Is
Well,
that what he's asking?
I'm assuming he says, eventually for citizenship, partly for citizenship.
Okay. Well, then, where's a good place to learn history, general law about museums, etc., partly for citizenship? I'm guessing he means to take the test. He needs to know this knowledge in Russian.
So I would say that the best place to learn that is with a private tutor who is familiar with the tests and the laws and things that are required, because I can tell you the citizenship test is a real pain in the butt. Would you agree, Daniel?
Yeah. No, you need to you need to hire a tutor who can do that with you. Not to say
Even
you
the
can't do
temporary
it.
residents, I would recommend you get a tutor for it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah.
we're not saying that people aren't intelligent enough to maybe learn it on themselves. But if you're looking to do it quick, in a quick manner.
And I guess I shouldn't call Carol a he. I apologize.
And so I'm going to make some assumptions about Carol's question, because it looks like it's maybe like a long-term type education. And so if you're looking for just a resource where you can learn, maybe in English, just to learn some of the history, learn some knowledge, I recommend this book. This book was gifted to me by an expat, a friend of mine.
And I'm going to make the screen bigger.
Yeah.
There, now show us.
Oh,
whoa!
Why did I
Who's that handsome fella?
Who's
that handsome fella?
Here, let's do this, Eddie.
There you go. It's this book called Eyewitness Travel, Moscow, from Moscow, rather.
Okay.
And it's got all kinds of resources on museums, places to go, places to see here in Moscow, and great resource because it gives you the history, the lessons on geography, all this good stuff. I'm going to put the ISBN number in the comments so that if you want to find this book, this is great. This is great for anybody who comes to Moscow. This is the book you want to have.
Guys, real quick, I want to test your vocabulary in Russian.
Yeah.
Let's try this. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it in Russian, and you tell me in English.
Я говорю по-русски.
I'm going to say the word in Russian.
Что?
And you tell me in English, okay? Яблоко.
What? Apple.
Piva.
Beer.
Хлеб.
Bread.
Masla.
I'll let him answer since I know all the words. Go ahead.
Yeah. What was it?
Masla.
I know all the words too. So
what was the word?
Masla.
Masla, meat.
Masla.
Maslow, butter,
Masla.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, masla.
or
Kapusta.
oil,
Kapusta.
cabbage,
Tort.
tort,
Pie.
Tort.
Cake.
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 Markov.
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 Markov. Nice
that's the guy down at the local police station.
Markov.
Igor
Carrot.
Markov.
Carrot. Carrot. Огурец. Огурец.
Огурец.
Огурец.
Нет.
Давай.
Давай.
Это овощи. Зеленый.
Green.
Zalone. You know, I always screw up green and yellow. Желтый and zalone.
ODS, right. Yes. Cucumber. Now, watermelon, that's arbuz.
Arbusta.
Yellow,
Яйцо.
blue arbuz.
Яйцо.
Injure.
Яйцо.
Injure.
Egg. Рыба.
No, injures. Fig.
Фрукты.
He isn't listening to anything I'm saying, is he?
I'm listening. I want you guys to tell me. Фрукты.
I was asking you. Fruit.
Fruit.
I was asking you.
Fruits.
Injure.
Frutti is fruits, actually.
Injure, Daniel.
No, Eddie. Fruits.
What?
I have fruits at home or I have fruit at home? Fruit.
Frutti.
Fruit is
Well, if you have fruit, you have fruit. If you have fruits, you have many fruits.
Frutti is fruit. It's uncountable. Мороженое.
Ice
Oh,
cream.
you guys are slow, man. Like
Hey, you're talking about us being slow, but I asked you one word and you still haven't answered.
what word is that?
Injure. And I've only
Injure?
mentioned what it is 20 times.
Oh. Yeah, I need
And
sleep.
sure, isn't that little drink that they sell
Yeah.
in little cans for?
Yeah, injure. Injure.
All right.
Fig.
All right. Fig.
Okay.
I didn't know that. Yenny's know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. All right.
So-
All right. So. You guys know. You guys know a little Russian. So.
So
that.
Alexander wants to clarify that to serve in the military, you need citizenship and must have not served in other armies to be drafted into the army. So that's interesting to know.
Well, look, when I got my citizenship, when I picked up my passport, the gentleman that was head of the draft in that region was there, and he gave me a slip, and I had to go. That was on Friday. I had to go on Monday to the military draft place, and sign in, check in. And I would have had to go through the process of the medical and all that. But because of my age, there was only 2 months left of my age. When I went down, the second time I went to go sign up for the physical, the woman's looking at me like, "Are you signing a contract?" I'm like, "No." She's like, Bubba wrote, stamped, and sent me on my way, because by the time I go through all the process, I'm going to hit the age where it's I'm done. It's finished.
So they don't take anybody over the age of 28?
So that's what happened. Yeah, for me, it's the age. It's 55. 55 is the cut. 55 is the cutoff.
I wasn't sure what it was. I've panicked with my wife every time I hear that they're throwing out citizens who haven't registered. So
I went. I have the stamp in my passport saying that I've been there, and that I am cleared, whatever that stamp is, to say that I am not eligible.
yeah. I didn't.
Because-
I was over 60 when I got my citizenship. So
well, did they have an officer from the military there when you received your pay? Well, with me, because I still had some time left, I guess. He was, head of MVED there gave me my passport, and the head of the military, department there in that region was there to give me the slip to say, I need to go and register.
Yeah. When I got mine, there were like 23 people there, but I have a good friend who is in the know that said don't even go and register.
Well, I had no choice because
Yeah.
he was there, but I mean, it is the law. Every Russian male citizen, I guess you need to register sometime in your life.
55 or under.
55 and under. Gotcha.
Yeah. I was 60. So
Oh, you're 60. You don't.
that's what I said. Yeah.
Right. I forget you're older than me.
Yeah. Edelwolf wants to know if you can pre-notarize documents or if you have to have them done in Russia. You have to have your documents done by a Russian notary. They have their own translators they use. You will take it to them. They trust their translators who will translate them usually pretty well. You do need to have somebody else check them that is a native of English or knows English well. If you need that service and you're here, my wife does that. We have a notary that she works for, and like I say, she's an English professor, has a PhD in English, so it'll be right when she is done. I've actually had documents translated by another notary's translator that came back wrong. Name misspelled, dates wrong. So you do have to be careful, but it has to be translated and notarized in Russia.
Ребят, спасибо за приглашение. Уже поздно. Я устал.
Хорошо. Спасибо за...
Пока-пока.
Пока. Спасибо.
What
Увидимся.
you
До
say?
свидания. Спокойной ночи. Сладких снов.
Увидимся.
Arrivederci. Ciao, baby.
Ciao, ciao.
Later,
Ciao,
boss.
bambina.
До свидания. Спокойной ночи.
До свидания. Later.
До свидания.
Спасибо.
So, Eddie, did we get through all those pictures you had of questions?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
All right. What else we got?
That's it.
Man, hour and 33
Hour and a half.
minutes.
We hit the bottom.
This is good.
Yep.
It's been a really busy weekend, last few days as well. So Monday is my day off. I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I got to catch up.
Yeah, me too. Ever since I moved to Russia and retired, I've been busier than I was when I was working.
Yeah, but you work for yourself now, so.
Well, yeah. Actually, I just picked up contract overseas, so I'll be doing some work for somebody else for myself.
Very good.
So I get to burn the midnight oil.
Yeah. Thanks, Rufus Ray. Appreciate it. He says, great live show. Very informative. You gentlemen get some well-deserved rest. I appreciate that. I see a lot of familiar names in the chat every time we come here, so I appreciate each and every one of you sticking with us and your, not your devotion. We won't say devotion. You come here for the entertainment. I know why you guys come here.
They like
we're
to
idiots.
see the idiots and dummies. Yeah.
We're idiots and we're dummies, man. We don't know what we're talking about. So
Wolf, it depends. Can't answer it better than that. We say it all the time. Depends on where you're going to live.
Yeah. Book a session. We'll talk about it.
Book a session. Yeah.
We'll dive deep into the weeds and figure that one out for you. Oh no, where was it? Odious had it.
Oh, that's the one I was going for too.
Yeah. Always glad to hear some idiots at Sunday evening. Thanks for the you're welcome. You're welcome. All right. What else we got? My thoughts on Papero. I don't know if we can put that up or not.
Yeah, that last one. I was saying the same thing as about don't trying to screw with your government. You won't like the outcome.
True.
True. Yeah.
All right. Entertainment partly, but truly, what was that? Etta Wolfson asking Eddie. I'm lost.
Asking Eddie and Kevin, I think you said.
Yeah. Well, I think we both answered the question.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the apartment, same question to Kevin. And
where,
Eddie.
how big, how small? Yeah.
Oh, and yours. Oh, so he's asking you. Dang, got to go back now. He's asking you what kind of apartment, where, and how much you pay.
Oh, how much I pay for this apartment? This apartment is paid for. It is owned.
Yeah. And where? Moscow.
Moscow.
And same question to Kevin. I am in a private house in Crimea, and it's paid for as well. So
Rufus says, hit the likes. Yes, please. Hit the likes. Subscribe. I know most of you probably subscribers, unless you're first time here.
Yeah.
Share this with your family. Share it with your friends. Share it with that friend or family member that thinks that Russia is a scary place.
Yep. And leave comments if you have questions later that come up. As you can see, we do deal with comments afterwards.
Yeah. So if you got something pressing that you want to know, put it down in the comments. Yeah.
Edelwolf actually, Eddie purchased, I built. And Edelwolf says 41 people are watching Eddie's stream and only 6 likes. So
that's good. It's all good. They're just numbers.
Yeah. So that means there's about 30 on mine. I don't know. Mine says 9, but
exactly. We're all connected by our common humanity. In the end, that's all that matters, man. We're all the same. We're all the same.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to cut it. So thanks for your time on this wonderful Sunday evening in Moscow, Sunday during the day, wherever you are. So you guys enjoy. All right. Until next time, we will see you.
You know what this means, right?
What's that?
This.
No. What does it mean?
It means we will not let the enemy pass.
Yeah. All right. Hasta luego. Till next Sunday. Laters.
Ciao, bambino.